fire is not created by someone. It comes of its own. Ravinder, are you able to hear? My voice is clear?
Yes, Prabhu, this was very clear.
Okay, thank you. So as the fire burns the dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. So if we are coming and even hearing, just hearing, what is the great benefit? That so many of our sinful reactions, which are still not fructified, they are terminated in the seed form itself. So it's a great benefit. So thank you for coming, those who are here. And we will discuss in this session today from the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. How many of you have attended before? How many of you are coming for the first time? In this session that we are discussing the Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse. You have been here before? Okay, thank you. Okay, Kamlendra, I think you have come, you have joined us for the first time?
No, Prabhuji, I was there in last 3 sessions.
Okay, very good. Excellent. So before I begin, because this is a knowledge which is beyond the capacity of one's intellect and ability, I would seek the invocation prayers so that we can access the spiritual knowledge. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhuveva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatpadeshitarine. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing the first chapter, and as you know, the first chapter is the foundation for the Bhagavad Gita. So this sets the scene, which makes the Supreme Lord speak the Bhagavad Gita. And I think it is very clearly audible to everyone. Are you able to hear, both of you, Yagnesh? Yeah, it's clear. I really doubt. My decibel level is high. Anyone who is not able to hear, who is present here in the class? आपको सुनाई दे रहा है पीछे? Mamta, is it clear? Okay. Actually, it brings a lot of interruption, so I don't want to put that. Technology means always there is trouble. If technology which is created by the Supreme Lord is trouble-free, you see the sun. Ever has it failed? There has been no flaw. And whatever is man-made, there is always an element of flaw because it is imperfect. So we in this human form of life, if we want to really remove our imperfections, what we have to do? We have to receive perfect knowledge. And from where can we receive perfect knowledge? From someone who is perfect. And anyone who is in this human form of life is imperfect. I can prove it in just 1 minute. Because how do we receive knowledge? How do we perceive the world? Through our mind and senses. And our mind and senses is prone to illusion. And our mind and senses are imperfect. So we are prone to commit mistake. And we also have the tendency that when we commit mistake, what do? Do we accept? Do we tell the world, here I am, a person who is full of faults? Have you ever come across a person? No. We try to cover it up. We try to cheat. So because this is the human characteristic of committing mistake, his senses are imperfect. He is prone to illusion. So there is no possibility of receiving perfect knowledge from any human person, unless and until he receives the knowledge through the Supreme Person, who is perfect. So Bhagavad Gita is a book which removes all our imperfections. How? Because we receive the knowledge which is transcendental knowledge, which is beyond the human defects. So if we want to remove our defects, what we have to do? We have to just connect. We just need to connect with this knowledge. And what is the purpose of this knowledge? Is to make us perfect. What is the perfection of human form of life? That the human form of life is meant to realize our eternal existence. All imperfections exist due to imperfect knowledge. So if we receive the perfect knowledge from the perfect person, the Supreme Person, then all imperfections can be removed. So we saw that in the previous verses, what we discussed, that how Duryodhana is manipulating. This is another manifestation of the cheating tendency. Is to maneuver, is to manipulate, is to misrepresent. Why? Because one is looking for one's own personal gain. And to be able to achieve that personal gain, what he does, he breaks the principles. So we saw how Duryodhana was trying to instigate, or he was trying to victimize his Guru Drona, even his grandfather Bhishma Dev. But whatever the human mind may attempt, it is not possible for him to break the principles which are given by the Supreme Lord. So all the signals or all the symptoms on the battlefield, it was very evident that Duryodhana and his team, the Kauravas, would lose the battle. So whatever a person, however he may be, attempting to try to take to the foul means or try to infringe the rules, and however influential he may be, ultimately he will have to face the reality. And what will be the reality? The reality is the inevitable death. Can anyone in this material existence resist death? Is it possible? Not possible. So Bhagavad Gita gives us this understanding that we should always follow the religious principles. So we will go ahead. So we saw in the last verses that how all the signals and all the signs clearly indicated that the Kauravas will be defeated. Prabhupada says the signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in this great battle, beginning with the grandchild Bhishma. And whoever is on the side of evil, he may be as mighty as Bhishma Dev, or as capable as Dronacharya. But whoever is on the side of irreligion, ultimately he will be perished. He will perish. So we will see from this. So now we will discuss the next section. This is from verse number 21. All of you have books with you? I'll give you the page number. It is page number 47 in the English text. So this is a new section. This section is a very, very interesting section. This section talks about Krishna's Bhakt Vatsalata. That how Krishna is keen, Supreme Lord, what position he is willing to take for his devotee. Someone may say that God does not exist. I'll give you an interesting exchange which happened with one of our devotee. One of our devotee, he went to a barber shop. And the barber, after seeing the devotee, was a grasta devotee, not like me, who is in the renounced situation. So there is no possibility of haircut for me. So he was a grasta devotee and he went for a haircut to the barber shop. And there were many, talks being being exchanged. So one talk came up and the barber said that I don't think that God exists. I cannot accept that God exists. So this devotee, he did not, disclose that he is a devotee. He said, what makes you say so? He said, if God is all powerful, if God is all loving, and God is all, present everywhere, is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, then why there is so much suffering? Why there is so much of, war and hatred and bloodshed? Why there are so many orphans? Why people are suffering so much? If he is all loving, he is all powerful, why can he not resolve all the problems of the world? Why this world cannot become a peaceful place? So this devotee, he did not argue. He did not enter into an argument with this person. He just paid his bill and he went out of the shop. And as he stepped out of the shop, what he saw two persons coming in the street, and they were very unclean. They had dirty hairs, untrimmed beard, and very, shabbily looking. So he called the barber to come out and see those two persons who were passing by. He said that after seeing these two persons, I can say that barbers do not exist. Because if barbers would exist, how could they be ugly? How their hairs could be so dirty? How their beards can be untrimmed? So this barber was taken aback. He said, barbers do exist. I'm existing in front of you. But these people do not approach me. If they come to my shop, I can trim their beard and I can shave them, or I can give them a haircut and they will look handsome. But because they do not approach me, so it is none of my fault. So similarly, God exists, but we do not approach him. And we do not, of course, obey him. So that is why we have so much of sufferings. And that is why we have so much of confusion and bewilderment in our existence. So Bhagavad Gita gives us the knowledge through which we can remove our ignorance. Because the root of suffering is sin. No one suffers without, being engaged in sinful activity. And why one engages in sin is because of ignorance. So how to remove ignorance is by enlightening him in knowledge. So Bhagavad Gita removes the root of suffering, which is sinful life. So very important. If one wants to really live peacefully, then he must know the principles of Bhagavad Gita. And if he fails to do that, it is for sure in his life, he will face many crises. Not just crises, he will suffer a lot. Miseries are inevitable. In material existence, miseries will be there. What is miseries? Now you have extreme climate, it's very hot, temperature is soaring. If there is no rainfall, in God forbid for next 15 days, what will be the situation? It will be very, very difficult. But not everyone suffers the same. So miseries are there, but suffering is optional. So to the extent one is situated in knowledge, he will not suffer. He will be substantially guarded. How? By the knowledge. In absence of knowledge, what he will try? He will try to overcome the crisis. The entire material existence, if you see, is trying to have a struggle, trying to overcome nature. Can man overcome nature? Is it possible for human to overcome the might of nature? Not possible. So how to be compatible with nature? What is this nature? How this nature acts on us? Everything is given in detail in Bhagavad Gita. So we will see the next section. This section speaks about how the Supreme Lord reciprocates with those who take shelter. We have seen the character of two personalities, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, who were not taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, rather they were opposed to the Supreme Lord. So we see the 21st and the 22nd verse. So this is a new section. From 21st till 26, rather 27. Until 27. Very beautiful section. One of the most beautiful section of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Surprisingly, in the first chapter. Many times people have this misconception. They don't read the first chapter. But anything and everything given in Bhagavad Gita is very important. It is to the point, precise for our ultimate benefit and welfare. So this verse is being spoken by Arjuna. So far, who was speaking the verses? Sanjay. Yes, Sanjay was speaking. But now, Arjuna will speak. What does Arjuna say? This is 21st and 22nd verse. Arjuna uvacha senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapayame achut yavadetan nirakshayam yodukaman avasthitan karmaya sayodavyam asmin rana samudyame. So Arjuna said, you see the situation. Just try to be on the battlefield or try to be on the chariot itself. So what is the scene? That Arjuna is seated on the chariot and Krishna has taken the role of the chariot driver. So this is what Gita conveys. What Gita conveys, that Krishna is willing to take any position and every position to serve his devotee. So Arjuna is giving command to Krishna. What he says? Arjuna said, "Oh infallible one, although you have taken the position of a charioteer, but he is infallible. That means his position is not lost. So, oh infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies." What are the two armies? The armies of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So that I may see those present here who desire to fight. So like a very capable person, like a very strategic person, what he's trying to do? He's trying to do SWOT analysis. You know what is SWOT analysis? Strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threat. So before we embark on any mission, what we should do? We should take a analysis. Nirikshayam is to oversee. Many times people start to take the IAS students, not making SWOT analysis. They will slog for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And in between, what will happen? They'll become so frustrated. Is there aptitude really for IAS or for any discipline that they are trying to pursue? Very important. So Arjuna is making an assessment. He wants to make an assessment. What he wants to make an assessment of what is the strength of the opposing party with whom he has to contend, with whom he has to fight. So he tells Krishna, who is his chariot driver, that, "O infallible one, that please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight. What is their might? What is their capability? What is their prowess? With whom I must contend in this great trial of power." So here Arjuna is very cognizant. He is not in oblivion. He knows that even though Krishna has taken the position of a chariot driver, but his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not change. So this purport Srila Prabhupada says, although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, Dolamani Prabhu, can you share the screen of the purport?
Yes,
you should do that every time when I am reading. So you should kindly do that, so that those who are here, they can see the verse and the commentary. You are there? You are there on that page, on the purport, all of you? Is it audible to you at the back? Are you able to hear clearly? Okay. He was engaged in the service of his friend, out of his causeless mercy. Srila Prabhupada is saying it is out of causeless mercy. Have you seen Mr. Modi? Out of his causeless mercy, he becomes the driver. Has he ever done that? Mr. Obama came, his good friend. He went to the airport, but did he become the driver? No. We will not do that. Why? Because he is image. He will not do that. But see Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of the entire creation, he is willing to do that. He became the driver of his friend, of his devotee. How? Out of his causeless mercy. This is the love. In love and in relationship, the Supreme Lord is willing to take every position and any position. He was engaged in the service of his friend. And not only he was engaged, he never fails in his affection for his devotees. This is the meaning of infallible. Everyone in this material world is fallible. You understand what is fallible? Fallible means when one falls from his position. What is the position of the living entity? That he is eternal. He is full of knowledge and he is full of bliss. But are we experiencing that? Are we experiencing complete knowledge? Are we experiencing bliss? Have we realized our eternal position? No. Because we have fallen from our eternal position, we are in fallible state. But the Supreme Lord is always infallible. And how he is infallible is very beautiful. It's very, very sweet. Srila Prabhupada is describing here because he never fails in his affection for his devotees. Whoever becomes his devotee, whatever is needed for him, the Supreme Lord is always ready to help. There are so many millions of examples, not only from Shastras, from personal experiences. So he's always willing and wanting to serve his devotee. So this is the exchange. This is the mellow which is reciprocated between the Lord and his devotee. Those who are not devotees, it's very difficult for them to understand. But you see here from Bhagavad Gita, this is very evident and very clear that how the Lord takes care of his devotee. Not only he becomes the chariot driver, but he never hesitates to follow the order. Prabhupada says, as a charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna. And since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. In our case, how much do we have hesitation? Do we have hesitation or not? We have so many doubts. We have so many hesitation. Our heart is filled with so many fears. Last few verses we were discussing the fears of both Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. But the Supreme Lord, he has no hesitation to do so. So he wants the entire world through the Bhagavad Gita to know that how much he cares for his devotees and how much he loves his devotees. So that he is willing and wanting to take the position of becoming a chariot driver. And believe me, chariot driver and the car driver, there is no comparison. In the car, if you are seated and if you have a driver, somehow I have the luxury. All through my life, I have a driver. I have one who has come with me. I don't treat him as a driver. He is my associate who helps me to perform service. But if I am sitting, I always sit in the back. So I tell him that I have to come to IERI. And he hears, because in the car, how many people are there? Just two of us. He is in the driving seat and I am at the rear seat. So I simply tell him that I need to come to IERI, and he brought me here. But on the battlefield, it is not so. How many armies were there on the battlefield? There were 18 phalanxes. There were millions and millions of soldiers. And as we heard, there were not only soldiers, there were so many bugles and trumpets which were blowing. So there was a big uproar. So if you shout on the top of your voice, still, although the chariot driver may be just a few feet ahead of you, these were not small chariots. They were huge chariots. Anyone been to Kurukshetra? Any one of you? Have you been to Brahm Sarovar? You saw one chariot there? That is one of the, replica. But the original side would be even bigger. Yeah. So there were huge chariots. And they were drawn by the 4 white horses of Arjuna's chariot. Krishna was, controlling. So what he used to do, if he had to give command to his charioteer, Arjuna, if he would have shouted to the top of his voice, still it would not have been heard. Like if here there are 10 sounds coming, everyone is, having his mobile phone in his full volume. So will you be able to hear me? You won't be able to hear me. So what he used to do, Arjuna used to give him signals. And how he used to give signal? That he used to place his feet on his shoulder. If he was to take right, he would tap his right leg on the right shoulder of Krishna. This was the indication that you please place my chariot towards the right side. If he was to go left, so what he would do, he would tap his left leg on the shoulder of Krishna so that he can move left. And if he wants to go straight, he would tap both his legs on the shoulder of Krishna. So this is the position which Krishna is willing to take to serve his devotees. So he is addressed here as infallible. Although he accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was never challenged. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, Rishikesh, the Lord of total senses. But the relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. This is what Bhagavad Gita is. Bhagavad Gita talks about the relationship. Bhagavad Gita is very sweet and it is transcendental, provided one becomes a devotee to be able to see what is there in Bhagavad Gita. You see the exchange? Has anyone, discussed Bhagavad Gita in this way? No one. Hardly. You see what position, to what extent Krishna is stretching himself. What stretching? He is overstretching himself to serve his devotee. And why he does so? Because the servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord. And similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. This is the relationship. This is reciprocal. This is the loving exchange. It is not that we have become das, we are slaves. No, the desire is to serve him, is to please him. And through service and what we do, we extend our love, or we express our love through service. And to the extent we are sincere in service, similarly the Lord reciprocates. How? The Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to a devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotee assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. So the Supreme Lord is not like, an ordinary master and a servant. You see, the ordinary master and a servant relationship, it has nothing to do with that. This is the loving exchange between the devotee and the Lord. That the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to serve his devotee, and the devotee is always willing to serve the Lord. So there is always competition. Always competition. You can see in the life of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada tirelessly, he preached Krishna consciousness all over the world to glorify the Supreme Lord. And what is the reciprocation of Supreme Lord? Everywhere, wherever you go, whoever knows this form, he knows Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada's glory is also known in the entire world. Every day, every morning, we have more than 500 temples and centers all over the world. What 500? Maybe even more than 5,000 now. All over the world. There would be no city in the world where ISKCON center is not there. I was amazed. Previously in Iraq, there was Rath Yatra. Can you imagine? Lord Jagannath Rath Yatra in Iraq. How it happened? That is also very amazing. There was US Marines in Iraq, The US Marines were there in Iraq. So few Americans who were ISKCON devotees. And one of the American, this Marine who was an ISKCON devotee, he had Lord Jagannath with him. So when he was posted to Iraq, he took his deity there. And he would go on the tank and patrol some areas. So he would keep Lord Jagannath on his tank and move. And one day, on the day of Rath Yatra, he decided to mount Lord Jagannath on his tank, and there were so many tanks moving, and they had a Rath Yatra. Lord Jagannath was mounted on a patterned tank of the Americans. And he distributed prasad also. He prepared and distributed prasad. So this is what the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. I'll give you one more example, which I have experienced in my own life. Lord Jagannath Rath Yatra is coming, so I'll give examples of Lord Jagannath. How many of you know Lord Jagannath? Suna hai Bhagwan Jagannath ke baare mein. When we say Jagannath, that means he is the Lord of the universe. He is not Udiyanath or he is not Purinath. He is the Lord of the universe. So one devotee, he used to go and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books in the Rath Yatra. And any one of you who has attended the Rath Yatra procession in Puri? Any one of you? It is mind-boggling. There is so much of overwhelming crowd. I have just had one experience. It is so much of overwhelming crowd that it is impossible for you to save anything. We were told before, do not take your mobile phones, do not take your purse, do not take anything valuable, even not the wristwatch, anything, because there will be so much of crowding and so much of pushing that it will be very difficult for you to retain anything. And this devotee, he is a Russian devotee. By body, he is not Indian, he is Russian. So Russian means neither he speaks Hindi and what to say of Odia. He even does not speak English. So I was asking him, how do you communicate and how do you manage the bag, which is full of books? And when someone gives you the money, how do you handle money? So anyway, he was doing this service for many, many years, for more than 10 years. And in Puri, unfortunately, still till date, they do not allow any foreigner inside the temple. They don't accept that he is Jagannath. They still think he is Hindu Nath or he is Bharatnath. It is not so. Anyway, so this devotee had a desire that I have never embraced the deity of Lord Jagannath. What to say of embrace the deity of Jagannath? I have never touched him. So this desire, flashed his heart. But he did not give much thought to his desire. He was busy in his book distribution. And after the Rath Yatra was over, he was returning back to his place where he was staying. And when he was returning back, one Panda. You know Panda? Those were the priests in the Jagannath temple. He was, passing by on his bike. So he stopped and he told this devotee through, the sign or the symptom that you come and sit on my back seat. So this devotee did not give much heed. He was not expecting this. So he continued to walk. And again, that same pujari, that Panda, came and stopped his bike and said, "Baitho piche." He could not understand. He still continued to walk. And then this Panda, he held his hand and grabbed him and made him sit on the bike. And he drove him. Because you've been to Jagannath Puri, if you would have heard. So Lord Jagannath comes on the chariot. He leaves his temple and he comes on the chariot. And the chariot moves from Sri Mandir, goes to the Gundicha Mandir. And the Lord remains on the chariot on that night. So he took him on the chariot. Panda himself, he held the hand of this devotee who was distributing books, and it took him on the chariot. And there on the chariot, he could relish his heart's desire of embracing Lord Jagannath. And no one bet him. He got the garland of Lord Jagannath. So till today, it is happening every day. It is happening every moment. But one needs to be a loving devotee of the Lord, who is willing and wanting to serve. So the servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. And he takes greater pleasure in his pure devotee assuming the advantageous position of ordering him. Rather, he does in being the giver of order. Since he is the master, everyone is under his order, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. So this is the exchange. This is the reciprocation. This is the love with which the devotees serve. The devotees do not serve to command the Lord. They only serve to please the Lord. And by their desire and by their intent to serve and to please the Lord becomes captive. The Lord becomes subservient to his devotees. So as a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers. So we see in this world, everyone is imbued with this tendency. What is the tendency? That this is a very burning issue in all our lives. That everyone is wanting to take charge or control. Any relationship you see in the material world, every relationship, what is the desire? That the other person in the every person in the relationship, he wants to control the other person. He wants him to agree to his desires, to his orders. And what is the result? What we see, that all relationships are getting broken or getting sour because of this tendency to control. So as we become devotee, to that extent, we are giving up this tendency to control. You see, even a small child, how he controls his parents? How? Simply by crying. Simply he cries. It is inborn. Since the time we take birth, there is this tendency to try to control others. Why? Because we are thinking that if I am able to control others, I can be happy. I can enjoy more. The husband is trying to control the wife. And what happens? The wife is controlling the husband. And we have strained relationship. The father is trying to control the son, and the son is trying to control the father. The teacher is trying to control the student, and the student is trying to control the teacher. So there is always a conflict. Why? What is the root of conflict? Is this tendency to control. The tendency to control others. So whether the devotee, what we have to give up? This tendency to control. So all exploitation All abuse is there because of this tendency. And this is so deep rooted. It is so much ingrained in our consciousness that every other thought, every other move we make is with this tendency, is trying to control us. But you see, in the relationship with the Supreme Lord, a devotee is willing to be controlled, and the Supreme Lord itself becomes controlled. Why is Arjuna fighting on the battlefield? Just to please Krishna. Prabhupada says, the pure devotee of Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers. But he fought because Krishna wanted it. Krishna desired it. So he came on the battlefield to serve the Lord. And what the Lord did, the Lord became his charioteer. Not only for Arjuna. You see Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada never wanted to go to the West. In his childhood, his mother wanted him to go to UK. Because in those days, pre-British area, in the British area, higher education was said to be UK. Like people still feel higher education is where if you go to States and you do MS. But his father refused and he also had no desire. But because his spiritual master wanted, so he went. And what happened? When he went, he had 2 heart attacks. And what did Srila Prabhupada see? That Krishna himself was rowing his ship. So Krishna became the captain of the ship. So he himself took charge of the ship which was flying in the Pacific. And Prabhupada said that never the captain of the ship was Mr. Pandya, who was the captain of Srila Prabhupada's ship, Jaladut. He said he had many voyages from India to US. And he said he had never experienced so much of calmness on the sea as it was when Prabhupada was there. Why? Because Krishna was driving it. Krishna was driving it. So the Lord is willing to take control of the chariot of our life. Just imagine what will be our life if our life's chariot is taken by the Lord. There will be no suffering. There will be no confusion. There will be no frustration. Provided we allow the Lord to take charge. And to what extent the Lord will, be willing is to the extent we are desiring. If we invite the Lord, so if one is intelligent, what he will do? Can we on our own? Can we drive our life's chariot without bumps, without crisis? Is it possible? But still we are so obstinate that we still do not want to give the control to Krishna. What is the entire struggle for? If you see, the entire struggle in human existence is trying to control. So this tendency is the root cause of our suffering. And we see here that Arjuna has given the control to Krishna. So Krishna is willing to take control, provided we are agreeing. The intelligent person is who does not, struggle and end up losing, who voluntarily gives the command in the hand of Krishna. So Prabhupada says here, the pure devotee of Lord Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come to the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana. We will discuss this obstinacy of Duryodhana. Next verse will come. What does it mean? Obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiations. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. So any questions from your side? Just see the glorious position of the Lord. That he is willing, wanting. He is advertising. He is promoting through Bhagavad Gita that If we become his devotee, he will drive our chariot. Okay, let's see the next verse. So the next verse, please. So this is Arjuna speaking. Arjuna continues to speak. So he has shared his mind that he has told Krishna that you please place my chariot in the midst of both the armies. And then again he speaks. He says, verse number 23, Yotsmana navekshayam yaete atra samagata dhartarashtra sadurbuddhir yuddhe priyat kirshava. Let me see. Yotsamanan. Yotsamanan means those who have come here with the spirit to fight, fighting spirits. Have you seen Jujutsu fighter? Japanese fighter you have seen? Sumo fighters. They are also, there is a Jutsu. That's a Japanese word. It is coming from this root word. One who is there with the spirit to fight. So Yotsamanan avekshayam. Avekshayam means that he wants to make an assessment. Let me see. Ya ete atra samagata. So those who have assembled here, why they have assembled here on the opposing side? Dhartarashtrasya durbuddhe. Dhartarashtra means the sons of the Dhartarashtra. And who is the prominent among the Dhartarashtra son? Is Duryodhana. And what is the nature of Duryodhana? He is Durbuddhi. Durbuddhi. Durbuddhi, do you understand? Whose buddhi is evil. Whose buddhi is wicked. Whose buddhi is not proper. Is not religious. He is Durbuddhi. Yuddhe priya chikirshava. And what is the evil-mindedness? That he is always willing and wanting to fight. So Prabhupada says that it was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans. He did that. He attempted that many times in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. You know this principle? Birds of same feather always, no one knows? Yeah, either they fly together or flock together. You know that? What kind of friends you make? Those who are of the same nature. Those who share same kind of ideas. So those who are assembled on the side of Dhritarashtra, they are all Durbuddhir. So anyone and everyone who is not on the side of Krishna is on the side of Durbuddhir. Very clear. Why? Evil mind, wicked minded. So our mind is our main cause of our ill fate, of all our struggle. Because the mind is every time, what is the nature of mind? It always imagines pleasure when there is none, and it magnifies problem when there is none. Most of your fears you will see in your life, 90% of your fears will never come true. Because where is that fear coming from? It is coming from mind. And mind has the tendency to magnify problems or fears and imagine pleasures. So Dhartarashtrasya Durbuddhir. So very important. So to the extent the intelligence is not aligned to receive the knowledge from Krishna, it remains Durbuddhir. It is Durbuddhir, evil-minded or wicked-minded or irreligious-minded. And one whose intelligence is evil-minded or wicked-minded, for him there will be so much struggle, so much of frustration. That is why we see people now, the more they have high positions or the more they have the resources, they are completely isolated. Why? Because one, they have this deep-rooted controlling tendency. What does controlling tendency mean? The mastermind. People say he's a mastermind. What does it mean to be a mastermind? That he wants to master everyone else. What it means to master everyone? He wants to control everyone else. What was Duryodhana trying? He was trying to usurp the kingdom. Why? Because he was thinking that if I remain the king, I will have the control and then I can enjoy. But was he able to do that? Was he able to do that? No. He was always burning. His heart was always burning. Although he remained the king in the Hastinapur and the Pandavas were in the exile. But the heart of Duryodhana was always filled with envy and fear. It was always burning. Was he able to enjoy the kingdom of Hastinapur? No. He was always thinking, what are the Pandavas doing in exile? Are they not, getting the resources so that they can fight and claim the kingdom back from us? So this Durbuddhi. So everyone in this age of Kali is to some extent Durbuddhi. Why? Because our buddhi, our intelligence is not aligned to understand the instructions of Bhagavad Gita or Shastra. To that extent, what we are trying, again and again, we are trying to have this controlling tendency. So this will always result in conflict. Yuddhe priya chikeshava. Yuddhe priya. Those who are desiring or wishing to fight. So Prabhupada says that Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were. But he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face. Although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. So we'll take the next verse. Evam Sanjay Uvacha. So next verse is being spoken by Sanjay. So these three verses were spoken by Arjuna. Why spoken by Arjuna? Because Arjuna is giving command. Arjuna is giving orders to Krishna that you please place my chariot in the midst of both the armies. Then the next verse. So now the scene changes. It is the scene which is inside the palace of Hastinapur. And Sanjay is speaking what he is seeing on the battlefield. So Sanjay says to Dhritarashtra, he says, Eva mukto rishikesho gudakeshena bharata senayor ubhayor madhe sthapayitva rathottama. So Sanjay said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot. Krishna never fails in following the order of his pure devotee. Prabhupada was adamant to have the land in Juhu. I was discussing it yesterday in Gurgaon. Yeah. And Krishna had to make all arrangement that the land belonged to Prabhupada. And why Prabhupada wanted to have the land? So that he can glorify. He wanted a temple which will propagate the glories of Shri Radha Rasmila. There were so many impediments. What Krishna did, he removed the person himself. That person became dead. So, what exchanges are happening between a devotee and the Lord, those who are not devotees can never understand. They feel that the devotee is also normal. It is not normal. It is not normal. So here, this verse says that Krishna, he drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of the both parties. So as a servant of his devotee, the Supreme Lord just obeyed the order of his devotee. And he placed the chariot. Here, a special reference is given to which Krishna is being addressed. Evam Ukto Rishikesha. Rishikesha. Rishika means the senses. We have 5 working senses and we have 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Every activity that we do is through our senses. Are you with me or not? How does our mind work? Through the senses. What are the 5 working senses? Working senses. Karmendriya. Karmendriya. Our hands, our legs, speech. Yeah. How do we perform any activity? Is through these senses. And how do we receive knowledge? Is through our ears. How do we receive knowledge? Through ears, by hearing. How do we see? By eyes. How do we smell? By nose. How do we feel? By touch. So all the senses, they are to be controlled by the mind. The mind is the master of the senses. And Krishna is referred here as Rishikesha. Rishikesha means, Isha means the controller or the master. And Rishika means the senses. So actually Krishna is the controller of our mind and senses. We will see that. Prabhupada speaks about Gudakesh first. So in this verse, Arjuna is referred to Gudakesh. So Arjuna is being referred as Gudakesh and Krishna is being referred as Rishikesha. So what does Gudaka means? Gudakesh means? Isha means one who is the Lord, Master and Controller. And Gudaka means sleep. So Arjuna has another feather in his cap. What is that feather in his cap? That he has conquered sleep. Arjuna is such a formidable personality that he has conquered sleep. Anyone who has conquered sleep? Possible? Not possible. But Arjuna was such a warrior. Not only he could stop the flow of the air, but he could even stop his sleep. What will be our life in our practice of Krishna consciousness? We can have this Gudaka. We can become Gudakesh. And there is no need to sleep. We can perform service 24 hours. So Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesh. And sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna for a moment. So what does sleep means? Every day we go to sleep. And what is the state of affairs when we go to sleep? क्या होता है जब हम सोते हैं? What happens? We forget everything. Do we not? We are completely in a state of oblivion. We forget who we are. Everything is forgotten. So similarly, we are all under the influence of sleep. Sleep also means ignorance. Why? Because we have forgotten our relation with Krishna. That he is the supreme soul and we are also soul. We have forgotten who we are. First, we have forgotten who we are. We are thinking we are this mind, we are this body, we are this post, we are this position, or we are from the family from which our body belongs. But we have forgotten from where our eternal relationship is. But Arjuna was above all such ignorance. Arjuna was situated in his Swarupa. This is another topic sometime I will discuss. So our Siksha should be such so that we can perform our Swadharma. And by performing Swadharma, we can be situated in Swarupa. But in today's time, there is no such facility available. Even if it is available, people are still not inclined to accept. So here it is being said that Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could never forget Krishna even for a moment. Because that is the nature of a devotee. To what extent we are devotee, we can judge. How much one remembers Krishna. Genuinely, how many times we remember Krishna in a day? Not even once. When we are in difficulty, when we are in crisis, when we are cornered, when everything is unfavorable, then we try to remember Krishna. Why? To solve our problem. So here Prabhupada is saying that Arjuna could not forget Krishna even for a moment because that is the nature of the Lord. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastime. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both. So Prabhupada is empowering. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. How to think of Krishna constantly is the 8th chapter. You are hearing? How to think of Krishna constantly? By chanting Krishna's name constantly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. See how Durbuddhir is there. And our mind and our intelligence does not support us to chant. Does it support? It resists. It opposes. What to say of support? It opposes. I will not chant. So this is Durbuddhir. So how we can remember when we are constantly thinking? Thinking means thinking of Krishna's interest, thinking of Krishna's instruction, thinking of Krishna's instructions. Yes, mainly instructions. How can we think? And how we can remember Krishna is by chanting. So Prabhupada is empowering those a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance. So if we want to conquer sleep, so that is why devotees, they sleep very less. Goswamis, they were sleeping only 2 hours. We also don't sleep much. Don't need to. Anyone who is sleeping more than 6 hours is completely influenced by the mode of ignorance. So as one becomes devotee, how you can sleep? He can conquer both sleep and ignorance. So what extent one is a devotee, one can know. Simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or samadhi. Samadhi means one is constantly thinking of Krishna's interest. One is constantly thinking of Krishna's instruction. As Rishikesh, or director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose. So Krishna could understand what makes Arjuna speak what he is speaking. Because Krishna is the super soul. He is seated in everyone's heart. So we cannot hide anything from the Supreme Lord. Can anyone hide anything from the Supreme Lord? Not possible. Because he is sitting inside. He is seated inside. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hide deshe Arjuna tishtati. And Brahmyan sarva bhutani rantra yurani maya. When we come to the 18th chapter. Then in the 10th chapter, he will say that aham atma gudakesha sarva bhut ashaya sthita. I am situated in the region of heart. So Krishna is the director of the senses and mind of every living entity. But we will come to know that Krishna does not control every living entity. Who controls? Karma. So there will be only 2 factors. The K factor will be there in our life. For most of the people, there will be karma factor. But if Krishna is there, karma will not be. So bringing Krishna means that getting free from karma. But what one has to do? One has to submit and surrender to Krishna. And Krishna says, Sarva dharmani parityaje mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva pape. All karma over, burned. Even the roots are burned. Also Lord Ram says, Sakra deva prapannoya tava asmi iti sa yachate abhyam sarvada tasmai dadami etad vratam. That whoever takes my shelter, I will award him fearlessness. So there is no karma where? Because there is Krishna. So Krishna could understand. Why? Because Arjuna could never forget Krishna for a moment. So Krishna is completely controlling the mind and senses of Arjuna. Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. So those who say Krishna did not speak in first chapter, please hear. Prabhupada saying that Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. So the next verse is spoken by Krishna, but in a subtle form. This is between Krishna and Arjuna. Others cannot know it. What did Krishna speak? He says, Bhishma Drona Pramukhuta Sarvesham cha Mahishita Uvacha Partha Pashretan Samavetan Kuruniti. So what did Krishna speak? Krishna says that you wanted to see those who have assembled here on the side of Duryodhana. Wait. I will discuss the verse. Okay. Show the Sanskrit verse. So he says that, okay, now you want to see. So he says, Bhishma Drona Pramukhita. So you want to see who are there on the side of evil-minded Duryodhana? Dhartarashtrasya Durbuddhe. So you see, what do you see? You see Bhishma. And you see Drona. So these are the leading Pramukhita. Amongst all those who are assembled on the side of Duryodhana, who are the chiefs? Is Bhishma and Drona. So when you become devotee, what will be attacked first is our attachments. Very big, like our Bhishma and Drona. Drona represents, although he was a Brahmana, he knew the religious principles. But he was still on the side of wicked Kauravas. Why? Because he was taking, he was taking monetary benefits. So Krishna did not take the chariot in the midst actually. One devotee was very nicely explaining. The order was to take the chariot in the midst of the army. But where did Krishna drive the chariot? In front of Bhishma and Drona. Why? Because Krishna is controlling the mind and senses of Arjuna. So he wanted Arjuna's mind and senses to be influenced by the presence of Bhishma and Drona. So he says, Bhishma Drona Pramukhuta Sarvesham cha Mahishitam. So amongst all the chieftains, who are the chief? On the opposing side is Bhima and Drona. So you please become aware. You become informed with whom you have to contend in this battle of war. Then he says, Uvacha Partha. Uvacha means Krishna spoke. Uvacha means to speak. Partha is Arjuna. And who is saying? Krishna. Pashyetan. Pashyetan means to see or behold. What? Samavetan Kuruniti. All the assembled who are here. So in a way, what Krishna did, Krishna controlled the mind and senses of Arjuna. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona and all other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold Partha, all the Kurus assembled. This is the first verse which is spoken by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. It is not from the second chapter and second verse which Krishna speaks. But this verse is subtle. This is subtle. And from here is where the Bhagavad Gita will begin. Because from here only the bewilderment of Arjuna will begin. The uncertainty will begin. And Arjuna, you see, in the last verse, Arjuna has come with complete fighting spirit. He says that I want to assess the strength of the opposing army. Why he wants to assess? Because he wants to fight and win them over, not just fight. He wants to see. He wants to have a strategy in his mind, so how he will be able to overcome their resistance. So Prabhupada says that as the super soul of the living entity, Lord Krishna could understand what was going on in the mind of Arjuna. So please be aware. So whatever we are planning, whatever we are thinking, or whatever we are envisaging, who is watching? Supreme Lord and Supreme Soul. The Super Soul, he is the witness. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi. Nivasa Ruhitsita, because he's seated in the heart. So we cannot hide anything. There's no question. Because as a super soul, he is inside the heart. So whatever we are thinking, maybe the people in the outside world will not know. Can anyone know our thought? No. Till the time we speak or reveal, the other person cannot know. But the super soul who is seated in the heart, he knows. Lord Krishna could understand what was going in the mind of Arjuna. The word of Rishikesh in this connection indicate that he knew everything. And the word Partha, meaning the son of Partha or Kunti, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. Please don't make that noise. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Partha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva, he had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Partha. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicted by the Lord in friendly joking. So this is an exchange, a very intimate exchange. So Arjuna came with the spirit to fight, but if Arjuna would have shot arrows, Arjuna would have started to attack the Kauravas, then how could Krishna speak Bhagavad Gita? Where was the scope for Krishna to speak Bhagavad Gita? The gift for the human race. So what he did? He controlled the mind and senses of Arjuna. And what he imposed in his mind is bewilderment, is confusion. It is beyond 9. So I will stop here. It is beyond 9. And we will continue next session from here. We will see what is the bewilderment, what change will happen in the mind and senses of Arjuna by Krishna's statement that behold, Partha, all the Kurus assembled here. So what we see in this section is that not only the Lord is supreme, but he is also very sweet. How he is sweet? Because he is willing to protect his devotee, to serve his devotee to any extent. So who would be that sane person who would not like to have a relationship with the Supreme Lord? So Bhagavad Gita teaches us, he gives us Krishna is giving an invitation to all of us that if we revive our relationship in this life, what we can receive full protection from the Lord, as Arjuna received. So thank you very much. I'll stop here. If there are any questions, any doubts, it is open for you. You can ask. We can take the discussion further. No impact on our heart and our mind. What is our thought? Do we still want to hold the rein of our life tightly? Let me be in control. I want to remain the controller, and I want to remain in the illusion of being the controller and master. And in this illusion, one is agreeing and willing to struggle and face all sufferings. Okay, there is a hand up by Dolamani. Yes, Dolamani. What's your question?
Prabhuji, how to get rid of the controlling tendency? We try to control the situation, people, everything we want to control.
Tell me one thing. Even if we try to control, are we able to control? It's not possible to control. We cannot control anyone. To the extent we try to control, there is crisis, there is frustration. And this frustration leads us to depression, even to suicide. And what is the result? The result is that the relationship is spoiled. You see all the relationships, why they are getting spoiled. The root cause is this controlling tendency. So how to be controlled? How to give up? So we accept someone in our life who is higher than us, whom we agree to obey. In one relationship, at least we are free from the controlling tendency. We are not trying to control. At least we cultivate one relationship. So we submit rather than try to control. And we can see gradually as we become established in that relationship, to the extent we agree to be controlled rather than controlled. We can see this disease. This is actually an anartha. What is it coming from? It is coming from our anarthas of Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad and Matsarya. To the extent this Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad and Matsarya exist in heart, this controlling tendency will remain. It will exist. Like if you cut the tree from the branch, what will happen? After monsoon, you will see that the branches have again grown up. They are there. What do you have to do? If you have to remove the tree, you have to cut the root. So how to cut the root? The root is our enjoying tendency. And why this enjoying tendency is coming? Because of our misconception, of our ignorance. So at least in one relationship, that is the relationship with the spiritual master. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janaram. But at least except in one relationship that I am imperfect. It is very difficult. Is it easy for us to accept that we are imperfect? Can we accept we are imperfect? No. We will always hold ourselves as perfect. And we are very happy when we prove someone imperfect, isn't it? Our ego is very happy, very satisfied. So in one relationship which is above our false ego, and that relationship is with the spiritual master, with the spiritual teachers, the spiritual perceptors. Why? Because we are willingly being, lovingly agreeing to be controlled in that relationship. And we can see that to the extent we are established in that relationship, our controlling tendencies will be removed. Why? Because the desire to control will be changed from the desire to serve. How we can remove the tendency? When the genuine desire to serve comes up. When there is no desire to serve, what is the desire? The desire is to serve, in control, to enjoy. Okay. Hare Krishna. Anyone from your side, any confusion? Yes, Mamta.
So, what is the difference between those people who can control their senses by doing samadhi, like yoga, asana, and the other thing is that someone.
What can they control? They may control their breath, but can they control their death?
But still
Yeah, are you hearing? You are not. You are loaded with your idea. So there is no one who is in control. There is only one person who is in control, who is the Supreme Lord. Everyone else is controlled. The one who is thinking who is in control, he is in illusion. Because Krishna is Rishikesha. We just discussed that. But to the extent one is intelligent, he accepts. And one who is Durbuddhir, evil-minded, wicked-minded, he does not accept. So he may try whatever. He may try Ashtang, he may try Hatha, whatever. He may have any siddhis, but ultimately there is no control. So it is a false notion. That is why Krishna, in the 8th chapter, we were discussing the 8th chapter, which is the continuation of the 6th chapter of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga talks about the siddhis, what you are speaking. So Krishna says, no need, you don't need to become that. Tasma sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhava Arjuna. How you can conquer is by constantly remembering of Krishna, thinking of Krishna. This is what Prabhupada is speaking. So why we should not take the recommended process? If you have to complete your masters in IERI, what you have to do? A PhD. It's also masters. You're higher than master. Huh? You won't accept PhD is master. What do you have to do? You have to simply follow the syllabus. And if you don't follow the syllabus, you may do whatever. So they are not in control. They are in the illusion. They are more deeper into illusion that they are controlling. It's not possible. Are you getting the conception? Very rare good soul can have this conception clear. Because the illusion is so heavy that everyone is thinking that by just a little bit of stroke of luck and a little bit of more ability or polish, I will be in the position to control. And everybody is thinking through control, I can enjoy. I can have better life. The employees are controlling the employers through union. So everyone is trying to control. But is anyone in control? Everyone is in control. So it is not a proper conclusion that the performers of this Ashtanga Yoga or this yoga, they are in control. No. Temporarily, bodily, they may be in control. But ultimately, they are not in control. Why are we worried about that desire? That desire level is what? They are not constantly thinking of Krishna. Very clear?
Actually, I have had someone that when they do yoga and when they do that asana, they feel happy and they feel peace.
But are they able to retain the peace? Are they able to retain their happiness? That is what I am telling you. It is all temporary. All temporary. Why? Because they are not connecting to the root, to the source, which is the supreme. So it is artificial. That is what a drug addict also does. If you ask a drug addict, why does he take drug? What he will tell you? The time I am taking drug, I feel happy. I feel I am free. I am flying from the world. And what happens? He falls. He may be imagining he is flying, but he falls. That is why Krishna has given the path. But through Arjuna, he is telling us, it was not possible 5,000 years back. Is it possible now? It's not possible. So don't get misdirected. That is what I am saying. In Kali Yuga, everyone is Durbuddhir. Dhartarashtrasya Durbuddhi. Very heavy. When I first heard it, it was ringing in my head for many days. Durbuddhir. How much our buddhi is evil-minded or wicked-minded. How much we have to reform. Krishna will give in the 2nd chapter Buddhi Yoga. So our journey in Krishna consciousness is from being Durbuddhir to become situated in Buddhi Yoga. Not easy. Easy? Not easy. Because the intelligence is inclined to remain evil-minded. Why? Because it is always thinking that if I can control, I can enjoy. If I can control, I will be happy. Okay? Anything else? All clear? Okay, we'll stop here. It is 9:15, and we will resume next week. We'll start the class actually at 7:30. Sonika is very kind to perform kirtan. So you continue from 7:15, and we will resume next Saturday. We will continue and see what is the impact of Krishna speaking, thus behold the Kurus, and what is the impact of Bhishma and Drona as Pramukta. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.